Why you never drive through Appalachia at 3 a.m. It's a warning West Virginia truckers still pass down the CB line, and nobody ever explains it twice. This happened in July of 2011 on Route 41 in the Appalachian Mountains of southern West Virginia, at a ranger station tucked into Babcock State Park that most GPS units don't even register. Ranger Danny Cohen was running his opening routine when he found a semi-truck abandoned crooked across the lot. Cab dented, passenger door torn clean off its hinges, nobody behind the wheel. Inside the station, something moved in the supply closet. When Danny opened it, a grown man came out swinging, half out of his mind, saying the same 4 words over and over. That man was Miles Gunner Thompson, a long-haul driver, and once he calmed down enough to talk, what he gave Danny was an account of 6 hours he still can't fully explain. This is what Gunner told him. Saturday, July 16, 2011, 6 a.m. Danny Cohen, 27, was doing the same walk he did every morning at the Babcock State Park station off Route 41. Unlock the gate, check the trailhead board, radio into dispatch. The radio only held a signal in 2 spots on the whole property. One of them was the gravel lot he was standing in right now. He keyed the mic, gave his call sign, and that's when he clocked it. A semi, parked crooked across 2 spaces that had no business being filled this early. Cab dented on the passenger side, door hanging open. He called out. Nothing. A full walk-around turned up an empty cab, doors unlocked, engine stone cold, like it had sat there for hours, not minutes. There's a detail here that matters later, and it's this. There were no tire tracks leading back out to the road, only in. Danny headed inside to log the plate number, that detail still turning in his head. He hadn't gotten 2 steps into the station when something shifted in the supply closet behind him. He grabbed the mop handle by the door and wrenched the closet open. A full can of paint came off the shelf and caught him in the shoulder. Then a grown man barreled out of the dark, swinging. They went down together, knocking over a shelf of trail maps. Danny got a knee into the guy's chest, got him pinned, kept saying, "Ranger, I'm a ranger. Stop," until it landed. The man went slack all at once, chest heaving, and started saying 4 words over and over, quiet, like he'd worn them smooth. She kept blinking twice. That was Miles Thompson, 43. Everyone called him Gunner. Long-haul driver, 19 years on the road. And by the state of him, shirt soaked through, 1 boot missing, a laminated something crumpled and soaked in his jacket pocket. Whatever put him in that closet hadn't happened anywhere near here. Danny got him water, got him sitting. Somewhere between the shakes settling and the sun clearing the tree line, Gunner started talking. And once he started, he didn't stop until the whole 6 hours were out of him. Danny didn't know yet that the soaked paper in Gunner's pocket read, "Feed the 1,000" across the top, or why a man would keep something like that on him through what he'd just been through. What Gunner gave him first was the woman on the shoulder of Route 41, and the dog that wouldn't stop looking at him like it understood every word. An hour into his haul, alone on Route 41, Gunner saw her on the shoulder, a woman, maybe 30, standing too straight for that hour of night, a dog pressed against her leg, medium build, ribs showing through its coat like someone had been starving it on purpose. He pulled over before he'd even decided to. 19 years on the road teaches you to keep driving past most things. But a dog in that shape never sat right with him. He cracked the passenger window. "You need a ride somewhere?" She turned toward him slow, like the question took a second to land. "I could go for a moon pie right now." Not an answer. Just that, flat, rehearsed. He almost laughed it off, figured she was messing with him, but her eyes didn't track right when the dash light hit them. No lids closing normal. Just a smooth blink, twice back to back like a camera shutter double firing. He'd remember that blink a lot sooner than he expected to. She got in anyway. Dog climbed up after her without being told, settled at her feet like it had done this 100 times. Gunner pulled back onto 41 and didn't say much for the first few miles, mostly because he didn't know what to say to a woman who smelled like wet dog and something sweeter underneath, something that reminded him of marshmallow left too long in a hot cab, gone soft and wrong. Bernice's voice showed up in his head right about then, the way it always did when he was 2 seconds from doing the smart thing and talking himself out of it. His wife ran a food drive back home. Feed the 1,000. Fed 1,000 families every summer out of a church parking lot. And she had a saying for every volunteer who tried to turn someone away at the table. People show up for the food. Your job is to show up for the people. So instead of pulling over and telling this woman to get out, Gunner started looking for a polite way to end the ride instead of a hard one. He cracked the window another inch, tried to air the cab out. The fog that came in through the gap didn't smell like anything at all. No pine, no rain, no diesel off the shoulder. Just cold. Like a freezer with the power cut, and it was thick enough that his high beams turned to soup about 20 feet out. "Gonna need gas soon anyway," he said, mostly to break the quiet. "There's a station up here a ways." She didn't answer that either, just looked out the windshield at the fog like she already knew exactly how far up the station was. 3 miles later, she said it again. Same 7 words, same flat delivery, no lead-in, like a switch had been thrown somewhere behind her face. "I could go for a moon pie right now." Gunner's hands tightened on the wheel. He glanced at the dog, still just sitting there, panting soft, watching him in the rear view like it understood every word coming out of her mouth better than he did. He didn't say anything back that time, just kept driving, counting mile markers, doing the math on how far the gas station actually was and whether he'd said that number out loud or just thought it. There's a detail in what happened next that Gunner still can't explain, and it's this. Every single time she blinked twice like that, something behind him had already changed by the time he checked the mirror again. Not once did he catch it happening, only ever after. He didn't know that yet, not fully, not with fog eating his headlights and a woman beside him who smelled like a birthday party gone bad. All he knew was the station sign was finally cutting through the gray up ahead, glowing that sick yellow it does at 3 in the morning. And he'd never been so glad to see a gas pump. He should have been more glad to see it get smaller in his mirror. 3 repeats of that phrase was Gunner's limit, so at the gas station, he lied. Told her he was stopping here for the night. She didn't argue, just got out, dog following, and said it one more time before walking around the side of the building into the fog. "I could go for a moon pie right now." He went inside, grabbed coffee and a candy bar he didn't want, and by the time he climbed back into the cab, his hands had mostly stopped shaking. He pulled back onto 41, told himself the whole thing was over, and almost believed it for about 4 miles. Then there she was. Same shoulder, same posture, same dog at her leg, ribs still showing. He told himself he was tired. 12 hours behind the wheel does things to a man's eyes. He kept driving. 30 minutes later, same stretch of road might as well have been. Same woman, same dog, standing there like she'd beaten him to it. He wasn't tired anymore. He was scared. He grabbed his phone and dialed 911. Got a live operator, heard her say 911, "What's your emergency?" and hung up before a word came out. He could already hear how it would sound. A woman on the side of the road 3 times, "No, officer. She's not hurt. She's just there," and couldn't make himself say it. He tried the CB instead. Told dispatch straight. Got laughed off the channel and told to pull over and sleep it off. It was almost 3 in the morning. Every legal stop on this stretch was full. He'd checked 2 already, both packed bumper to bumper with rigs that had gotten there first. He needed somewhere, anywhere. And that's when the Babcock State Park sign came up out of the fog on his right. He didn't decide so much as run out of options. He turned onto the access road, the moment the choice got made for him. No shoulder wide enough on this stretch to turn a rig around once you're committed. He was going forward, whatever forward turned into. The fog swallowed his high beams past 20 feet the second he left the highway. Worse in here than on the main road, like the trees were holding onto it on purpose. He pulled into the gravel lot of the ranger station, already knowing there was no reversing a trailer out of a lot this tight, already knowing the road behind him couldn't take a U-turn at his length even if he tried. She was standing in front of the station before he'd finished stopping. Not walked there, not arrived. Just there, like she'd been waiting on him to catch up the whole time. Gunner's hands were sweating so bad on the CB mic he could barely key it. He locked both doors, killed the engine, sat there with his heart going too hard against his ribs to count. She hadn't moved, just stood there in the gray, the dog beside her, both of them facing the cab like they were reading something written on the windshield. The fog kept settling over the hood, slow, like it had somewhere to be and wasn't in any hurry to get there. He told himself the dog couldn't get up on the cab without him hearing it. Metal steps, claws on the running board, something. He held on to that thought because it was the only one that let him breathe normal. He didn't know yet it wouldn't need to walk like a dog to do it. There's a detail Gunner still turns over, even now. The drive from the highway to this exact spot took him past 2 other stops, both packed full of trucks that should have thinned out by 3 in the morning, not filled to capacity. He never worked out why every legal stop on 41 was full that one night. He sat there gripping the wheel, watching her not blink, waiting for whatever came next, and for a few seconds, just a few, nothing did. Then the dog's head turned, slow, all the way toward the driver's side window. Both of them faded back into the fog like the sound had physically pushed them there. He killed the horn, sat frozen, doors locked, engine off, and told himself that was it. That was the end of it. It wasn't. 3:30 a.m. A scratch dragged down the driver's door, slow, top to bottom, like something testing the metal on purpose. 10 minutes of silence after that. Then the whole truck shook. One hard shove that rocked the cab on its springs. No wind, no reason a semi that size should move like that. 10 minutes after that, the passenger door handle rattled. Then it stopped rattling and just came off. Not forced open, torn off. The whole mechanism, metal shrieking as it separated from the frame and dropped somewhere out in the gray. That's when Gunner saw her again, standing right where the door used to be sealed shut. And this time, the dog was different. It wasn't sitting anymore. It was up on 2 legs, taller than it had any business being, taller than her now, its spine bent forward at an angle no dog's spine should hold, joints reversed in places that made the whole shape of it feel borrowed rather than grown. Every rib still showed through skin, stretched too tight over the bone, like it had been starved for years instead of days. The hide gone gray and papery in patches where the fur had thinned to nothing. Its mouth hung open, and drool ran off both sides of its jaw in long ropes, catching the truck's dome light and pooling dark on the gravel beneath it. Its teeth weren't a dog's teeth anymore either. Too many of them, too long, curved back toward its throat like something built for holding on rather than biting once. And its eyes weren't scared, weren't hungry in any way Gunnar recognized. They were fixed on him with something closer to patience, something old and unbothered by his fear. She still had the leash in her hand. She wasn't the one leading anymore. Gunnar grabbed the truck's small fire extinguisher off its mount and bailed out the driver's side, dropping hard onto the gravel. His leg screamed on impact. He'd twisted it wrong on the landing, and he was already limping before he'd taken 3 steps. He got cornered against the ranger station's front window, back to the glass, nowhere left to go. He checked his pockets on reflex. The gun was still in the truck, useless now. All he had was a folding knife, and he threw it. Did nothing. It bounced off the gravel between them, and neither of them flinched. He started yelling. Fire! Help! Anything that might carry. Anything to bring another human being out into that lot. They closed in slower with every word, like his voice wasn't urgency to them, just noise. Both boots came off in a panic, thrown one after the other. Nothing. He eyed a trash can bolted near the corner of the building, thought about folding himself into it, changed his mind mid-stride the second he cleared the corner and saw the window instead. Unlocked. He's a big man with a bad leg, and getting through that window was a fight from the first second. Belly on the sill, jeans snagged on the frame, half in and half out, kicking at nothing while his hands scrabbled for something inside to grab onto. That's when the dog's jaws closed around his leg. His jeans tore loose instead of his skin, the fabric giving way at the seam right as he dragged the rest of himself through. And he fell into the dark of the station in a heap, breath gone, leg burning where the denim had scraped raw. He slammed the window shut behind him without looking back to see how close it had gotten. Here's the detail that still sits wrong with him. Right as that passenger door tore off its hinges outside, she blinked. Twice. The same twice from the truck cab, the gas station. Both times she'd stood waiting on the shoulder. Somewhere between falling through the window and scrambling for the closet, it landed on him. That blink was never a nervous habit. Every time she'd done it, something behind him had already changed by the time he looked. He got the closet door shut behind him, wedged it with everything on the shelf that would fit under the handle, and stayed there in the dark, boots gone, jeans torn, waiting. The scratching outside the closet door had already stopped by the time he got settled. It wasn't leaving. It was waiting, too. Back in Danny's frame in the station in the daylight, Gunnar finished the whole account sitting on an overturned bucket in the supply closet doorway, still not fully willing to step more than a foot away from it, one hand always somewhere near the frame. Danny got him steady enough to call it in, and by the time a deputy actually rolled up the gravel drive, the fog outside had burned off completely in the July heat, like it had never been there at all. Danny would notice something else later, weeks after the report was filed and Gunnar's truck had been hauled off the property. That patch of gravel out front, right where the woman had stood, it never fully dried out. Not that week, not in August, not through the driest stretch of the whole summer. Every other square foot of that lot baked white and dusty in the heat. That one patch stayed dark, like it was still holding on to something. Gunnar walked out to his cab before the tow truck backed in, mostly to grab his logbook and whatever else he needed for the paperwork. That's when he saw it sitting on the passenger seat. A moon pie, wrapper peeled halfway back, one bite gone out of the corner, teeth marks pressed clean into the marshmallow like whoever took that bite hadn't been in any hurry about it. He hadn't packed one, hadn't bought one at the gas station, hadn't seen her holding one the whole ride. He didn't touch it, didn't ask anyone else to look at it either. He just stood there a second staring at that half-eaten thing sitting in the exact spot she'd sat, then closed the door and let the tow driver do his job. The truck went up on the flatbed 2 days later and never got driven again. Word was, the company wrote it off rather than put another driver behind that wheel. There was the matter of feed, the 1,000. 9 years running, Gunner had never missed a Saturday of it. Not once through 2 surgeries and a bout of pneumonia that should have put him in a hospital bed instead of behind a folding table. This year, Bernice ran it without him. When he finally called her from the hospital that afternoon, voice still hoarse, she said the line back to him the way she always did. Told him showing up for people was the whole job. It didn't land the same coming out of her mouth as it usually did, not after the night he'd had. Danny still doesn't have an answer for why Gunner dialed 911 and hung up before saying a word. He asked him about it more than once over the years, and Gunner never gave him a straight answer either. Just went quiet. The same quiet he'd carried into that closet the morning they met. Gunner's worked long haul 4 more years since that July. Won't take a solo overnight run on Route 41. Not for any load, not for any rate. Other drivers have needled him about it plenty. He never explains himself past the same handful of words. The thing that still eats at him isn't the woman. Isn't even the dog. It's the one Saturday in 9 years he swore he'd never miss, and missed anyway. And the way Bernice's voice sounded when she told him it was fine, like she meant it, like she wasn't going to bring it up again, ever, no matter how many years passed between them. He believed her. Mostly.